Hello, MCU fans. Today we're going to take a look at all the things we can learn from the X-Men 97 tie-in comics. Now, they are canon to the overall X-Men animated universe, and they fall in between the original animated series and X-Men 97 Season 1. There will obviously be spoilers for the comics themselves, but on the off chance you're watching this video prior to seeing X-Men 97 Season 1, since they are prelude comics, I will avoid any spoilers for Season 1. Lots to discuss. Let's dive right in and see what we can find out. We're entering a new month, October, which means a new contest. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment, and you could win a book or a steelbook. Best of luck. And I will announce the September winner in the next video. Also, there is a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check that out in case you're interested. All right, so one question is, where can you read the comics? Well, an obvious answer is your local comic shop. But if you want to read them online, Marvel Unlimited now has them all. Notice the final issue was physically released on June 26th, but they don't come out digitally until 3 months later. So I couldn't do this video until now, but now they're all online, and so I was able to get the screen captures for the video, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy all the things we learn. In fact, the very beginning of X-Men 97 Season 1, they talk about the last few months have been rough. And I always wondered, what was so rough about those months? Well, now we're going to find out, because that's what happens in issues 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the series. So let's start with issue number 1. So we see them working out in the Danger Room. I love the fact Magneto's still got his old school outfit on. And Wolverine and Cyclops, of course, are bickering away. But one interesting thing is, notice Storm has not yet changed her look to what we see in X-Men 97, but we will see her make that transition in the comics. And then we also have Bishop saying, like, what is going on? I don't remember them being, fighting each other this much from the holovids. And I love Jubilee's like, Bishop, buddy, you got no idea. So we get an appearance by Dazzler, which is really cool, but unfortunately she's being abducted by the Friends of Humanity. So they take her away, and Trish Tilby, who shows up many times in X-Men 97, obviously, she's doing some reporting on it. And every time she reports on a story, she also drops an Easter egg. Notice she says, billionaire playboy Warren Worthington III, the benefactor of a concert, because Dazzler was about to do a concert, was unable to be reached for comment. Now, Angel doesn't actually appear in the comics, but I love all these little Easter eggs that Trish drops along the way. All right, so we notice that Jean is feeling ill. I'm sure you can guess why, but they will show us why in a few minutes. And Beast is talking about working on Bishop's time travel device. So I really hoped they had told us in the comics why he went to the past and what happened to his device. Unfortunately, no. They just make sure to tell us that he cannot get back to his future timeline again. And in the meantime, he is a welcome addition to the team, but Beast really feels like, he needs to get this thing fixed so Bishop can go home. All right, so the X-Men make quick work of the Friends, and you'll find that I'm not going to really go through any of the battles. You can check out the comics if you want that, but trust me, this one ends really quickly. And then in pops Val, so that's great, and she's cuff him, take him away. In fact, here you see her talking to Cyclops and trying to explain how President Kelly, obviously he's now president, is taking things very serious about working with mutants and trying to find peace. But look who's working with her over on the right. Yes, that is Agent Denty, who will obviously be showing up in X-Men 97, but we learn a little bit of his backstory throughout the comics. In fact, notice here, he's whispering to this dude, one of the Friends, hey, don't worry, I'll get you out on a technicality by this weekend. Yikes. So anyway, Val is explaining that you'll find a lot to respect about Agent Denty. Oh, no, they won't. No, he's awful. And anyway, Denty is leading everybody off to prison. But notice, Wolverine sniffs something, recognizes something about Denty, and says, the scent is familiar, but I can't place it. So they will answer this question in the comics, but what's really cool is they're going to end up tying Denty into Wolverine's past. So love it. All right, so then we get Dazzler, who's now been rescued. Obviously, she was the one kidnapped by the Friends, saying to Cyclops, you never did come back to that bar, hero boy. Missed your chance to hit it big time. Of course, she's referring to the Dark Phoenix saga, Dazzled was the episode name, when, it looked like maybe Dazzler was going to steal Cyclops away from Jean. So kind of funny for her to be bringing this up when, as we're soon going to find out, Jean is pregnant. So bad timing, but she didn't know that, in fairness to her. So, and then here we see Storm now getting her new look. And I love the fact they kind of attribute it to Dazzler. So Dazzler is the reason she decided to go with this new vibe. So kind of fun. All right, then we have Jubilee grabbing Bishop, who she calls Biceps, and to pull him off to the Dazzler concert because they have all been invited to a free concert because Dazzlers are so happy that she helped save them or save her. But of course, there's trouble everywhere, right? So the Nasty Boys, you might remember them working with Mr. Sinister. They attack Dazzler. No big surprise, since the X-Men are at the concert. They make quick work of the Nasty Boys. But back home, those that didn't go to the concert include Jean and Scott learns the good news. Yes, that is a pregnancy test, and she reveals that she is pregnant. And Wolverine is not too happy about that, obviously. Very sad. And meanwhile, you've got Mr. Sinister, who is now pretty ticked off at the Nasty Boys because they failed to capture Dazzler and failed to defeat the X-Men. So what's interesting is this kind of explains why we won't see the Nasty Boys in X-Men 97, because Mr. Sinister is pretty much done with them. He's like, I've been working with you for a while, you're worthless. But he's saying how important it is that their very own Jean Grey is with child, because that offspring is the genetic key I've been after for years, which of course we know that from watching the X-Men, the animated series. So I really like how this is really tying stuff together, but this is where he breaks his ties with the Nasty Boys and instead now decides to enlist some new help. You can see the 7 different villains that he's going to assemble. The main one that's recognizable is, of course, Sabretooth. The rest are all kind of B-level villains from the comics, but we'll get introduced to them in the next issue. So, issue number 2, which obviously, Sabretooth versus Wolverine is always going to be your premier battle, but lots of battles in this issue. So we have Trish recapping what happened in the last issue, which was the Nasty Boys attacking Dazzler, obviously, and we get a name drop. Remember, she drops cameos or Easter eggs of different, it's kind of a cameo. You can see her on the screen, but she mentions the psychic ninja known as, and while they don't say her name, that's obviously Psylocke. But yeah, Mr. Sinister is ticked off. He's mad about a couple of different things. Number one, he wants to make sure to protect his genetic experiment inside Jean's belly, but also he's mad because the X-Men are making some headway with the government, and the government's starting to trust them. So he decides he needs to take care of that. He wants to, again, protect the thing that is incubating within one of the X-Men, and he brings together his Sinister Seven. Sinister 7. Hey, you're cheating, Mr. Sinister. Sinister 6. That Spider-Man's comic named that first. But anyway, his own Sinister 7, which is this group, which he is calling the Mutant Menace. Obviously, again, Sabretooth you can see there for sure. All right, so back at the X-Mansion, we pick back up as Scott is looking at that pregnancy test, and I love this. This is kind of funny. He says, I can't read the test result. It's a red line, right? Think about that. His visor would make everything a little red, so he wouldn't be able to see the pregnancy test. Too funny. But Jean says we're going to be parents. Now this time, Wolverine isn't just sad, he's pretty mad. Ticked off, storms out, and speaking of Storm, we see Storm, again with her new look now, deciding she's going to go take off to see how he's doing. All right, so now we're going to see attacks on 3 different fronts. So we've got Jean and Scott, and also Beast, but Beast is off in the laboratory, which is why we won't see him doing too much. But the mansion is under attack by this dude who has a major hate for Xavier. He was not a great man, he's a liar and a manipulator. So who is this dude? His name is Hazard. Now he is from the comics, and he does hate Professor X in the comics as well, but he's not from the original animated series. So this is his first appearance in the animated universe. All right, so while he's attacking the X-Mansion, we have the team that went to go see Dazzler in the concert heading back. We have Gambit getting himself in trouble. He says Gambit has to admit that Dazzler puts on a show, and the lady is quite a looker, too. And, of course, Rogue's not real happy about that, but he says, no, don't worry, Cher. Gambit only has eyes for, and then boom, the Blackbird is under attack. It's always under attack, right? So they have to land, and who is attacking them? Sienna Blaze, another character from the comics that's never appeared in the animated series. Now, she is very powerful, and notice that Rogue, as you can see here, is starting to try to absorb her powers, and we won't find out till the next issue how that goes for her, but let's just say not well. All right, and then we have Wolverine and Storm. Remember, Storm went off to console Wolverine, and he smells something he doesn't like. And, of course, what does he smell? Well, he smells some of the villains. Riptide, who comes flying in, and Sabretooth with the rest of his villains, who will be introduced in a moment as they each decide to attack. So Wolverine knocks Sabretooth outside of the building, and they mention Arclight. As you can see on the right there, Arclight is the next villain to join the fray, and there she is joining the party. And then Prism attacks Storm. So Prism stuff reflects off of him, as you can see. So that's a good villain to end up fighting Storm, because pretty much he's safe from her lightning. And then the last dude, he has a harpoon. So of course his name is Harpoon, because why not, right? Now notice that Sabretooth has Wolverine kind of pinned down, and Harpoon is about ready to throw, well, his harpoon, when suddenly Sabretooth appears behind him. Now if you're confused by this, imagine how confused Harpoon is, but we should have guessed it. It's everyone's favorite shapeshifter on the scene. Yes, Morph has returned. And what I love about this is I think this is the first battle that Morph has joined the X-Men in since the original animated series. Of course, in X-Men 97, it's like Morph's always been there. So now we're kind of seeing Morph return to the battle. All right, so notice to be continued as we head to issue number 3. And notice on the cover, that's Rogue trying to absorb Sienna's powers and it being too much for Rogue. So we'll see that in this issue. All right, so we start with Trish Tilby every time, right? Out there reporting and right in the middle of harm's way this time, literally while everything's going on and the local populace is being endangered. So to take care of her, Morph changes to, well, Trish herself and says everyone will be completely fine thanks to the fast action of several devastatingly attractive mutant heroes. In fact, my whole news crew will now be evacuating to a safe distance. Love it. So they take off so fast, they leave the camera. Love Morph. In fact, then Morph turns into Hulk. And notice, Wolverine is saying, it's good to have you back, Morph. Feels like old times. So again, I think this is Morph's big return to the team. And we have Morph looking up Storm and saying, long time no see. So this is definitely Morph's first fight alongside the X-Men in a while. All right, so then we have Denty coming in to try to arrest everybody. What a shock, right? So that ticks off Wolverine, who's ready to take him down. And Morph/Hulk is trying to hold Wolverine back. And then Wolverine picks up Denty's scent again. Remember, he sensed something about Denty in that first issue. This time, he remembers. So we get a little flashback to Wolverine when he was with Maverick and Creed on Team X, and they're hunting down militia, basically. And here they mention, yep, we're from Team X and coming to take everybody down. Team X, you might remember, that is from the Weapon X Lies and videotape episode of the animated series. So I love it. They're definitely tying back to some of the original episodes. And sure enough, one of those militia members is Denty himself. And a grenade goes off, and now we know why Denty's face looks so nasty in X-Men 97. So yeah, Wolverine's furious, but while all this is going on, it allows Sabretooth and the Marauders to make a quick getaway. And then in comes Val, who is really ticked now. Ticked at Denty because she's basically saying, hey, look, there are problems with mutants, but it's not the X-Men, and you know that. But Denty's saying, with all due respect, all mutants are known threats. So yeah, they basically send this guy to jail to arrest him, very ticked at him. And actually, the comic doesn't tell us how he gets out of jail, but they kind of hint at it when he says, once I get in touch with my Friends of Humanity contacts, mutants will finally get what they deserve. So yeah, we're going to see Denty again in X-Men 97 Season 1. But meanwhile, we got one of the other battles going on where Rogue is trying to sap Sienna Blaze's powers, and it actually knocks Rogue out. But it also knocks out Sienna Blaze. So Sienna Blaze, realizing that she's very weak now, she teleports away. So that battle ends. And then remember back in the X-Mansion, there was so much going on at once, right? You got Hazard, who's sitting here attacking the X-Mansion because he hates Xavier so much. But the doors all slam and the windows slam shut, thus protecting the mansion. So now he's ticked off and just decides to start destroying everything he can. But Jean Grey uses her powers to restore it, and so he gets ticked off and leaves. But Jean is very weak, obviously, now that she's pregnant. And so Scott's trying to console her to, hey, take it easy, relax. And while they're talking, in walks Beast, who now realizes, oh, I get it. She's pregnant. So not exactly the way that Jean wanted him to learn, but slowly the different X-Men are learning about her pregnancy, which is really cool. And then now everybody returns back to the X-Mansion, and we see that Jubilee realizes Morph has joined the team again. So yeah, Morph must have just been gone and then come back for this particular battle, which is pretty cool. So everybody is so happy to have Morph back. And Morph, well, is going to morph. And so turns into Sabretooth or Snaggletooth, as the case may be. Too funny. All right. So then, for anybody that didn't yet know, Jean shares the big news that she is pregnant. And everybody is very, very excited. and or surprised. You can see Morph's face there. Or sad. You can see Wolverine's face. All right, so now this is really cool. One thing that obviously doesn't get addressed in X-Men 97 Season 1 is the excitement at the fact that Jean is pregnant, because it's pretty much a foregone conclusion by the time Season 1 comes out. So now we see them heading off to a baby shower. They're going to go and let Jean's parents celebrate. So very, very cool. It's a grandchild coming. I love that Morph basically turns into a tuxedo. That's funny. Wolverine, though, is nope, I want my outfit on because I am ready for a fight. But Scott and Jean are saying basically, hey, we're going to have this baby shower. We're going to be normal parents. Everything's going to be fine, right? Well, in fact, they even say there's no place safer for us than with the rest of the X-Men. Maybe, maybe not, because Mr. Sinister has now decided not only am I going to take you guys down, I'm going to take down the whole town in the process. Yikes. So there is his team once again, ready for battle, and notice to be concluded. So again, one of the things I think that's cool about the comics is it's letting us just enjoy some of the early moments of Jean realizing she's pregnant and having a baby shower, and of course getting attacked by a bunch of villains. So finally, issue number 4. So once again, we start with Trish giving us a news report about what happened in the previous issue and giving us another fun little Easter egg. As she says, in other mutant news, a Russian-speaking strongman with steel skin rescued a young, so that's pretty obvious, right, Colossus, and maybe referencing magic, which is really cool. And then this is kind of funny. Remember, we are in 97, so they're talking about new tech, and in this case, a TV with a mute button. That's funny. That's really funny. And speaking of new tech, Mr. Gray talks about the first time they set up an answering machine. And that's important because Jean kind of pauses and says, I actually don't remember us doing that. How odd. So Storm and she go off and talk in the other room. And she says, I've just been having the oddest lapses in memory lately. It's like I'm living a life that's not my own. But maybe that's the stress all mothers-to-be experience. And obviously, this is a plot line that we resolved in X-Men 97 Season 1. All right, so Morph then turns into Daredevil. That's awesome. And calls Wolverine a regular man without cheer. Beautiful, just beautiful. And then Beast gives us another reminder of the fact that Bishop is stuck in the past. So he still has not fixed the device. And obviously, he's still working on that in X-Men 97 Season 1. And then we get the villains literally coming to the Gray's house, Mr. and Mrs. Gray's house, blowing a hole in the wall. Yikes. So much for the baby shower. And Hazard wants to eradicate the X-Men and then to raise the entire town as payback for their sins. Man, this dude is really upset. All right, so I love the fact that Storm gets to say the line, right, to me, my X-Men. And we get a nice splash page as they all go to fight each other. And again, you can check out the comic if you want all the details of the battle, but you might notice Sabretooth wasn't there. Sabretooth hung back this time with Mr. Sinister, which I think maybe he sensed it wasn't going to go well, so he's out. He's out of here. So he takes off, says goodbye to Mr. Sinister. I don't think Sinister ever wants to see him again, to be honest. But so that's it for Sabretooth. But meanwhile, this is a fun little reference. Scott mentions the Corsair formation, something they practiced in the Danger Room. And of course, that's referring to his dad, Corsair. So love that. Then Morph is having fun. Nothing can stop the Morphernaut. Epic. Epic. And Morph turns into Iron Man, ready to fight armor with armor. And what's cool is this is the same looking Iron Man, other than the face, obviously, that we see in the series. So love that, and very nice detail. And then we get this clever homage to one of my favorite all-time covers as Wolverine sees Prism's reflection in his claws. Of course, obviously, this is from the Hulk fight instead of Prism. And also, it was seen in Deadpool and Wolverine, which that was also very, very cool. But that's fun. Fun stuff. Then I love this. Once the battle is done, Morph turns into Val. So pretty scary looking, that face. But anyway, saying it's time to cuff him and send him to jail. And then Bishop drops a line. He says, back when I come from, we had more permanent solutions. Yikes, was he just going to shoot them all? Dang, that's hardcore, man. That's hardcore, Bishop. Anyway, now they all come together and celebrate the victory. But basically, Jean is really worried. She's sad that she can't fight with the X-Men because of the pregnancy, obviously. But, Scott's like, hey, we can handle this. let's handle the rough stuff until our son is born. And Jean says, but that's just it, Scott. Even after the baby's here, there's no telling what dangers will lurk around the corner. And now the comic gives us all of the plot lines that we were resolved in X-Men 97 Season 1, starting with Mr. Sinister, who wants the child, obviously. And we see Gyrich and Denty are forming a partnership in prison. So I'm guessing Denty eventually gets broken out of jail by the Friends of Humanity, as he said. But this is really important. This is why Denty and Gyrich, are basically working together, which we'll see in X-Men 97. Then this is kind of cool. We see Magneto again in his previous costume, but somehow Emma Frost has gotten a hold of the last will and testament of Charles Xavier before even the X-Men got it. But this does explain how Magneto gets it and ultimately is able to read the contents of that in X-Men 97. And we see Sunspot, who is having trouble controlling his powers. So Roberto it will obviously be a key character in X-Men 97. So that's really cool how it's just setting up all these plot lines. Of course, it's ironic because this comic, this particular issue, number 4, came out after X-Men 97 was done. So I don't know why they didn't do the comics earlier, but I really do like how it all ties together. But yep, then we get this final shot of all the X-Men saying, no matter what happens, we will face all of them as we always have, Jean. Together we are the X-Men. And of course, never the end. All right, so now let's talk about where it fits in the timeline. So this is the X-Men 97 Season 1 timeline, and you can check my videos if you want to know exactly why I put the things where I did. But two important things I want to recap. Episode number 2 is when Scott and Jean have their baby, and episode number 7 deals with Dia de los Muertos, and it is mentioned as being 1 month after the baby is born. So that means this is in October, and the baby was born in September. Okay, so here is the entire timeline. You have the X-Men the Animated Series and X-Men 97 Season 1. And on the bottom, you have Spider-Man the Animated Series. And in the middle is every time they've crossed over. So where do we put the comics? Well, we know that they're a prelude to X-Men 97 Season 1, so we can put them in here. But when? When do they occur? Well, if Jean's baby is born in September, that means it was likely conceived in January, meaning Scott and Jean started the new year off in style, right? And it takes about 6 weeks to know for certain that you're pregnant. So therefore, I'm going to guess that since issues 1 through 4 deal with Jean just having discovered she's pregnant, they take place in February of 1997, over just the span of a few days. So let me know your thoughts on that, but I think that is where it fits in the overall timeline. And of course, I always love to mention the Googlesheet timeline doc. Of course, it's in timeline order, but you can sort it by release order if you're interested by just using the sort commands. And you can filter. So let's look particularly if you were to filter by multiverse animated and multiverse comics, because now we have all of the different animated shows. And in fact, we even have our first entry of comics in the spreadsheets, which I know I'm immediately going to get asked, hey, add all the comics in. Oh my. I will eventually. It's going to take some time. But at least for now, you can see we have X-Men 97, issues 1 through 4, and then X-Men 97, Season 1. So I will leave a pinned comment that has a link to the Googlesheet timeline doc in case you want to go out there and check it out. And let me know your thoughts on this timeline and on the comics as a whole. I've really enjoyed them. Hope you did as well. All right, so don't forget, October contest. Be a subscriber, leave a comment, win that book or steelbook, and there's the membership option in case you're interested in that. And then I always love to mention the Discord. Here we are talking about the X-Men 97 tie-in comics. Lemon Pied, I guess, had just read the comics and was telling everybody about them. So now you know everything that happens. And I would recommend going out to check out the comics yourself. But we would love to have you on the Discord. 1,700 members across the globe, conversations 24/7. And we want you to be part of it. So I will leave a pinned comment so you can join the Discord. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, the ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.